welcome to my channel. If you enjoy this story, don't forget to subscribe and like. The Raven's Eye Space Tavern clung to the edge of the Shattered Nebula, where the light of dying stars flickered like fading embers. It was a haven for outlaws, smugglers, bounty hunters, space pirates, and men with eyes as sharp as razor blades. The air was thick with the acrid stench of ion smoke and cheap synthetic liquor, a suffocating haze that Ethan Carver, a bounty hunter with disheveled black hair and battered armor, breathed like second nature. He slouched in a shadowy corner, back pressed against a cold metal wall, fingers tapping a rhythm on a steel tumbler of booze. His armor, once a proud emblem of a coalition soldier before he went rogue, was now a patchwork of scars from battles no one cared to remember. It was the only thing keeping him alive in the kind of deals he took. "Boss, 3 goons at the bar are staring holes through you." Gizmo, the AI embedded in Ethan's armor, chirped through a small speaker on his shoulder. Its metallic voice was laced with dry wit. "Biometric skin shows elevated heart rates, dilated pupils. Aggression probability, 82%. Want me to switch to combat mode?" "Easy, Gizmo," Ethan muttered, taking a swig of the bitter, chemical-laced liquor that burned like engine oil down his throat. "If I fought every time someone gave me the stink eye, I'd be worm food in deep space by now." But his hand drifted to the energy pistol tucked under his leather jacket, thumb brushing the trigger. 10 years surviving among predators didn't dull instincts like that. He clocked the trio's glares, not curiosity, but the kind of look that smelled blood. Ethan wasn't at Raven's Eye to unwind or pick fights. A cryptic message sent from an unknown source had dragged him from his ship, the Gray Zone, a creaky metal heap reeking of grease and steel. The message was short, cold. "Meet me at Raven's Eye. Big job. Don't disappoint, Carver." No signature, no hints, just a strange symbol, a star cleaved in two, as if slashed by an invisible blade. Ethan hated mystery invites. They usually led to 2 things, credits or death, and he wasn't sure which this would be. But his credit account was screaming red, and the Gray Zone needed repairs to survive another jump. He had no choice. The tavern's door slammed open, metal screeching over the din of the crowd. A figure stepped in, and the room fell silent, as if the air had been sucked out. She was tall, lithe, moving with the guarded grace of a panther in the wild. Her black cloak shimmered under the dim lights, woven from stardust. Crimson hair cascaded like molten lava, and her golden eyes, blazing, cold as a reactor core, swept the room, dismissing smugglers and pirates before locking onto Ethan. She strode toward him, each step clanging on the metal floor like a war machine's heartbeat. The crowd parted, no one daring to block her path or hold her gaze for long. She stopped at Ethan's table, no greetings, no pleasantries. "You Carver?" Her voice was low, smooth as velvet, but carried an alien cadence, like it didn't belong to any planet Ethan knew. Without waiting for an answer, she sat across from him, movements precise, deliberate. A small cylindrical device appeared in her hand, placed lightly on the table. It pulsed with light, casting an invisible privacy field that warped the space around them, shutting out prying eyes and ears. "Depends on who's asking." Ethan shot back, a smirk in his tone, but his eyes didn't waver. He set his tumbler down, right hand still near his pistol. "I don't like being dragged here without a reason. Who are you, and what the hell's going on?" She smiled, a dangerous, alluring curve, like a blade hidden in silk. "I'm Lysara. No surname, don't need one. I'm here to hire you, Carver. Something's waking in the Shattered Nebula, something this galaxy's never faced. I need someone like you, someone who doesn't fear death, and more importantly, doesn't fear asking the wrong questions." Ethan raised an eyebrow, masking his curiosity. She knew his name, his reputation, things he'd tried to bury since ditching the coalition. "You know more about me than I'd like," he said, voice steady but sharp. "But I don't work for vague promises. What's this something, and why should I care?" Lysara leaned in, her golden eyes pinning him, as if seeing through his armor, past the invisible scars in his mind. "It's Vyrath, the curse of the shattered stars. An ancient entity, sealed in the core of Clythar 9 millions of years ago. Someone's broken the seal, Carver. If we don't stop it, it'll devour everything, space stations, planets, even our dreams. Gizmo piped up, its metallic voice dripping skepticism. Sounds like a fairy tale for kids, but with a 99.9% chance of annihilation. I'd advise walking away, boss. Piracy's safer, less cosmic doom. Survival odds against an ancient entity, under 5%. Ethan ignored Gizmo, his gaze fixed on Lysara. There was something about her, not just her beauty, but a mystery, like she carried the universe in those golden eyes. But he wasn't one to be swayed by charm. Let's say I buy your story, he said, voice dry. What's in it for me? I don't dive into danger without a reason. Lysara's smile softened, like she'd expected the question. A fortune in credits, enough to buy a fleet. And more, a chance to be a hero, though I know you hate the word. Ethan gave a harsh laugh, the sound like metal scraping metal. Hero? Wrong guy, lady. I work for credits and survival. That's my code. He was about to refuse, to stand and walk away from this trouble-laden table, but before he could speak, the three goons from the bar lurched to their feet. Their armor glinted under the lights, marked with the sigil of Black Star, a notorious mercenary band that hunted ancient secrets, and killed anything in their way. Carver! One roared, voice like thunder, gripping a plasma rifle. Hand over the woman, or your space dust's right here! Ethan sighed, rising, his right hand closing around his energy pistol, thumb flipping the trigger. He glanced at Lysara, who sat still, her golden eyes flashing with alertness. Gizmo, he said, voice low but razor sharp. Activate combat mode. Looks like the party's just started. Smoke from energy weapons choked the Raven's eye, thick as toxic fog, dimming the flickering ceiling lights. Shouts from the crowd mingled with the screech of metal on metal as tables and chairs toppled in the chaos. Ethan Carver rolled over a steel table, dodging a plasma bolt that scorched the air, leaving a black scar on the wall. He dropped to one knee, energy pistol humming, firing 3 precise shots like a machine's heartbeat. The first Black Star thug collapsed, armor shattered, eyes wide before hitting the floor. Lysara moved like a shadow, swift and deadly. Her black cloak flared, revealing an energy sword as thin as a thread, blazing like a star's edge. She swung, the blade slicing through the second thug's plasma rifle before he could fire. Sparks erupted, and he staggered back, roaring, but Lysara didn't pause. She spun, crimson hair whipping through the air like flame, delivering a spinning kick to his chest that sent him crashing into the bar, shattering a dozen bottles of synthetic liquor. Not bad, Ethan shouted over the chaos, a smirk flashing despite his pounding heart. He tossed a flash grenade from his belt, the tiny device exploding in a blinding burst of light, stunning the final Black Star thug. The man fired wildly, shots hitting the ceiling, raining metal shards like shrapnel. Where'd you learn to dance with a sword like that? School of Hard Knocks. Lysara shot back, her voice low but sharp, like the blade she wielded. She deactivated her sword, but her golden eyes gleamed with vigilance. Her breathing was steady, as if she just strolled through a starfield, not taken down an armored brute. We need to move, Carver. Black Star never hunts alone. Gizmo's voice crackled through Ethan's shoulder speaker, metallic and edged with panic. Confirmed. 6 armed ships approaching the station, 12,000 clicks and closing fast. High-energy weapons locked. Survival odds, 63%. I suggest running now, boss, unless you want to be cosmic scrap. Ethan grabbed Lysara's wrist, pulling her through the panicking crowd. Smugglers and pirates shoved and screamed, scrambling to escape as the station shook from an external explosion. A chunk of ceiling collapsed, nearly crushing them, but Ethan swerved, shoving Lysara through a narrow exit. You owe me a longer explanation, he growled, voice cutting through the blast. And it better be worth my neck! They burst into the docking bay, where the gray zone, a battered but reliable heap of metal, waited under flickering neon lights. Ethan vaulted into the pilot's seat, fingers flying over the controls with the speed of a man who'd lived among the stars. The screens lit up, showing black star ships, red arrows on the radar, closing like a wolf pack. "Gizmo, fire up the engines!" Ethan barked. "I want us gone before those bastards turn us to slag." "On it," Gizmo replied, but its voice hitched. "Warning!" One ship's locked on. "Plasma missile, velocity." Its words cut off as the gray zone shuddered, a laser grazing the hull, leaving a scorched streak. Ethan gritted his teeth, yanking the controls, the ship lurching to dodge another barrage. The auxiliary screen blazed with red alerts, flashing like a panicked heartbeat. Lysara, strapped into the co-pilot's seat, said nothing. She pulled the cylindrical device from her cloak, plugging it into a console port with swift precision. "Allow me," she said, calm as if ordering a drink. Before Ethan could protest, an invisible electromagnetic pulse surged from the gray zone, rippling through space. The radar showed the black star ships halting, their signal lights flickering in chaos. Their systems were paralyzed, drifting uselessly in the void. Ethan turned to her, half impressed, half suspicious. "What kind of tech is that?" he demanded, a growl in his tone. "And don't tell me I don't get to ask about its origins." Lysara smiled, enigmatic as a distant star. "My tech," she said, voice soft but sharp. "Call it a gift from a people long gone. And no, Carver, I'm not ordinary. But I'd bet you aren't either." Ethan snorted but had no time to argue. The gray zone shot into the void, leaving the burning Raven's Eye behind, debris floating like a ship graveyard. He adjusted the trajectory, weaving through a cloud of stardust, buying distance from their pursuers. But a new signal flared on the screen, not Black Star, but a massive ship bearing the Coalition's expedition fleet insignia. It was triple the gray zone's size, its energy cannons glinting like a predator's eyes in the dark. A cold voice crackled through the comms, sharp as a blade. "Gray Zone, this is Colonel Marcus Varn of the Coalition. Lower your weapons and prepare for boarding. We know she's on board." Ethan shot Lysara a look, his eyes like daggers. "You forgot to mention the Coalition's after you too," he said, voice low but taut. "Anything else I should know? 'Cause I don't like being a target without a damn good reason." Lysara shrugged, but her golden eyes flickered with tension, like a flame caught in a gust. "I might have borrowed something from them," she admitted, voice light but unapologetic. "Don't worry, Carver. They won't shoot while I'm alive. I'm too valuable." "Great," Ethan muttered, his knuckles white on the controls. He glanced at the screen, the Coalition ship closing fast, its cannons glowing. "Gizmo, plot a hyperspace jump. Destination, Clythar 9. And you," he jabbed a finger at Lysara, "better give me the full story before we get there. Or I'll hand you to Varn myself for some peace and quiet." Lysara's smile returned, no longer cryptic, just defiant. "Try it, Carver," she said, voice like her blade. "But I bet you'll regret it." 3 days had passed since the escape from Raven's Eye, and the gray zone drifted in the icy darkness of the Shattered Nebula, mere thousands of kilometers from the dead star Clythar 9. Its faint core pulsed, flickering like the heartbeat of a dying beast, casting ghostly streaks across the ship's hull, whispers from the grave. Ethan Carver stood before the observation screen, arms crossed tight, shoulders rigid to mask the tension coiling in his chest. The Shattered Nebula was treacherous, but Clythar 9, with its dense radiation and legends of an ancient entity, made even a hardened bounty hunter like him feel a chill down his spine. He glanced at Lysara, standing by the console, her fingers tracing the cylindrical device now fastened to a shimmering necklace, as if it were part of her. Her golden eyes were fixed on the screen, but distant, seeing something beyond the star ahead. Ethan cleared his throat, voice low but sharp. "All right, lady. We've dodged Black Star and the Coalition, though hell knows how. Now spill it. What's Vyrath, and why's the whole galaxy gunning for your head?" Lysara turned, her gaze locking onto him, blazing like a reactor core but tinged with an elusive sorrow. "Clythar 9 isn't just a dead star," she began, her voice smooth as velvet but heavy. "It's a prison. Vyrath's prison, a primal intelligence, forged by a civilization that vanished before humans touched the stars. Vyrath isn't machine, isn't creature, it's pure will, capable of bending reality, crafting worlds or shattering them with a thought. But it was too dangerous, too uncontrollable. So it was sealed, deep in Clythar 9's core, millions of years ago. Ethan frowned, voice dry. And someone broke the seal. Black Star? Not quite, Lysara replied, her gaze distant, as if peering into her own past. Black Star are just mercenaries, attack dogs hired for dirty work. The real players in the coalition, someone with enough power to hide their tracks, to manipulate fleets. And she touched the necklace, where the device glowed faintly, like a sleeping machine's pulse. I carry the key. The final piece to awaken Vyrath, or destroy it. Gizmo cut in, its metallic voice dripping with doubt. A reality-bending entity? Sounds like a great way to ruin my day, and the galaxy. Survival odds against it, 0.03%. I say we turn this ship around, boss. Find a new bar, hunt some pirates, live another day. Ethan ignored Gizmo, his eyes on Lysara. There was something about her, not just a mystery, but a pain buried beneath her defiance. Why you? He asked, voice low but cutting. Why do you have the key? Who are you, Lysara? She hesitated, just a moment, then shed her black cloak, revealing a slender arm covered in glowing patterns, like living circuits pulsing under her skin. They flickered in sync with Clythar 9's light, as if tied to it. I'm a product of an experiment, she said, voice calm but laced with the sting of memory. My people, the Vyrathians, were Vyrath's keepers. We revered it, guarded it, until our civilization crumbled. Then a group of scientists, or madmen, take your pick, fused my DNA with the key. I'm a tool, Carver, built to unlock or destroy Vyrath. But I chose destruction, not to let it fall to Black Star or the Coalition. Ethan felt a strange pang of empathy, like looking in a mirror. He'd been a tool once, a Coalition mercenary, trained to kill, to serve, until he broke free, choosing freedom at the cost of blood. What's the plan? He asked, a smirk masking his unease. Fly into the core, smash the key, and hope we don't burn to ash. Lysara smiled, a faint, sharp curve, like the sword she'd wielded. Simple, but effective. Unless you've got a better idea, Carver. Before Ethan could reply, the observation screen flared, cutting off their talk. A Black Star fleet appeared on radar, red dots like blood, weapons locked on the gray zone. But what froze Ethan's blood was the massive ship behind them, 10 times the gray zone's size, bearing Coalition markings but painted pitch black, a monster from the void. Its cannons gleamed, ready to shred anything in its path. That's no ordinary Coalition ship, Lysara whispered, her voice trembling for the first time, betraying fear. That's the Black Dragon, Colonel Varn's ship. He's not just an officer, he's the one behind it all. The one who wants Vyrath to rule the galaxy. Ethan's jaw clenched, heart pounding like it wanted to break his ribs. He dove into the pilot's seat, hands slamming the controls, the gray zone shuddering as it plunged into Clythar 9's radiation field. Gizmo, divert all power to engines, he roared. We're hitting the core. If I'm going down, I'm taking some bastards with me. Yes, boss, but I must warn. Gizmo's words were drowned by a blast from the rear, rocking the ship. Ethan spun, pistol drawn, only to see a man step from the shadows. His face was scarred, Black Star armor glinting red, and his rasping laugh cut into Ethan's past like a knife. Carver, he said, voice cold with amusement. Thought you could run? I'm Jackson, and I was on this ship before you even boarded. Ethan drew his energy pistol in a flash, fingers tight on the grip, but Jackson was faster. The scarred man raised a spherical device, no bigger than a grenade but glinting with deadly metal. A pulse of invisible force erupted, a shrieking electromagnetic storm that paralyzed Ethan's armor. He crashed to the gray zone's floor, pain searing through him like 1,000 red-hot needles piercing bone and marrow. His head buzzed, vision blurring, but the agony couldn't douse the rage blazing in his chest. Jackson, once a friend, A man Ethan had saved twice, stood there, his rasping grin a knife twisting in old wounds. Lysara lunged like a spectre, her energy sword igniting with a hiss, its thread-thin blade blazing like a star's edge. She slashed at Jackson, but he dodged, his bulky black star armor belying his agility. Jackson swung a fist, his armored knuckles slamming into Lysara's shoulder, sending her crashing into the ship's metal wall. The impact rang out, sharp and hollow, and she slid down, sword still clutched, golden eyes flashing pain but no surrender. "Don't waste your strength, sweetheart," Jackson sneered, stalking toward Ethan, his steel boots clanging like a death knell on the floor. He crouched, his scarred face inches from Ethan's, breath reeking of synthetic tobacco. "Carver, you're always one step behind. You think I vanished after the Red Nebula job 'cause I was scared? Nah, I sold you out to Black Star. Now I'm handing her over to Varn, and I'll get my own planet, riches, power, no more skulking like a rat in this galaxy." Ethan gritted his teeth, fighting to move as his body felt pinned to the floor. Each breath was a battle, but Jackson's words cut deeper than the pulse. "Jackson," he growled, voice hoarse, "you were my friend. I saved your sorry ass twice." "Twice, you bastard!" Jackson shrugged, his grin cold as deep space ice. "And I'm repaying you by not killing you on the spot, Carver. But times change. Vyrath is the future, power to reshape the galaxy. I'm betting on the winners, not losers like you." Gizmo, still functional despite the armor's shutdown, whispered through Ethan's shoulder speaker, its metallic voice tinged with urgency. "Boss, I can trigger an emergency protocol, a high-voltage pulse from the armor's core. It'll fry 70% of the ship's systems, and success odds are only 42%. You in?" Ethan glanced at Jackson, who was inspecting the spherical device, ready to fire it again. "No time left. No choice," he hissed, voice hard as steel. "Do it, Gizmo." A small explosion flared from Ethan's armor, white light bursting with a crackling surge of electricity, like bottled lightning. Jackson screamed, hurled backward, the device tumbling from his hand, skittering across the floor. Ethan charged, pain still burning but drowned by fury. He slammed fists into Jackson's face, each blow a curse for betrayal. But Jackson, enhanced by Black Star tech, roared, shoving Ethan back like a ragdoll. He drew a plasma dagger from his belt, its green blade glowing like liquid fire, ready to carve through anything. Lysara, recovering, leaped into the fray. Her energy sword blazed, clashing with Jackson's dagger in a shower of sparks, a deadly firework in the dark. Metal screamed, their movements a blur too fast for Ethan to track. "Carver!" Lysara shouted, her voice cutting through the chaos. "Start the ship! We need to hit the star's core before the Black Dragon catches up." Ethan stumbled to the pilot's seat, body aching like it was torn apart, but his fingers danced over the controls with the speed of a man born among the stars. The gray zone shuddered as it plunged through Clythar 9's radiation field, the star's core glowing brighter, a forge of cosmic wrath. The screens flashed red, showing the Black Dragon, Colonel Varn's massive ship, closing in, its energy cannons gleaming like a predator's eyes. "What the hell's happening?" Ethan yelled, as the ship's clocks flickered erratically, the surrounding metal groaning like it was being crushed. Space outside warped, stars on the screen bending as if snapped by an unseen hand. A pressure clawed at his mind, a whisper from the void. Lysara, still locked in combat with Jackson, spun back, her golden eyes wide with panic. "It's Vyrath!" she cried, her voice trembling but resolute. "It's waking! We're too close to the core!" Jackson laughed, dodging Lysara's slash, his plasma dagger nearly grazing her shoulder. "You hear it yet, Carver?" he roared, eyes wild with mania. "Vyrath will give me everything! Power, glory, and you'll get nothing!" Before Ethan could reply, a cold voice echoed, not through ears but directly in their minds, resounding like bells from an ancient temple lost in darkness. "I have waited," it whispered, deep and primeval, the voice of the universe itself. "You bear the key, but do you dare pay the price?" The space within Clythar 9's core was a nameless nightmare, where reality melted like wax under an unseen flame. Through the gray zone's observation screen, Ethan Carver saw impossibilities, cities floating in the void, their crystal spires twisting like branches in a storm, formless creatures drifting, emitting faint light like fireflies of the dead. A crushing pressure bore down on his mind, as if an invisible hand gripped his brain, slowing every thought to a crawl. He clenched his teeth, hands gripping the pilot's chair, fighting to hold his sanity amid the madness. Vyrath's voice rang again, not in ears but in their skulls, cold and ancient, like echoes from a temple buried in a million years of shadow. "You bear the key," it said, each word a hammer striking their minds. "But the key is not to open a door, it is to destroy me. Why do you seek to end what forged the stars?" Ethan, grappling with Jackson on the ship's floor, roared, his voice raw but defiant. "If you're so benevolent, why have you been locked in this damn tomb for 1,000,000 years?" He swung a fist, but Jackson, bolstered by Black Star Tech, caught it, his scarred grin twisting like a gash. "I was betrayed," Vyrath replied, its voice rolling like waves on a stone shore. "My creators feared my power. But I do not seek destruction, I seek renewal. Your galaxy is dying, rotting in war and chaos. I can save it, bring order, bring eternity." Lysara moved like a phantom, pinning Jackson to the floor with a deft lock, her energy sword hovering at his throat, its hum ready to sever. "Don't listen, Carver!" she shouted, her voice shaking but sharp. "Vyrath will twist reality to its will, not ours. It's no savior, it's a nightmare." But before Ethan could respond, a blinding light erupted from Lysara's necklace. The cylindrical device blazed, like a star exploding in miniature. She screamed, collapsing, hands clutching her head, body trembling as if invaded by something alien. The patterns on her arm, living circuits, glowed fiercely, pulsing wildly, as if syncing with Vyrath. Ethan rushed to her, kneeling, hands on her shoulders, but Jackson broke free, sprinting toward the ship's escape pod. "Leave him to me!" Gizmo barked through the speaker, its metallic voice fierce. A robotic arm sprang from Ethan's armor, firing a glowing electric net that ensnared Jackson like a spider's web. He crashed down, roaring, but the net held tight. "Focus, boss!" Gizmo snapped. "The girl's in deep trouble." Ethan held Lysara, feeling her tremble under his grip, like a ship torn by a cosmic storm. "Lysara, snap out of it!" he yelled, voice hoarse with worry. "Don't let that thing control you!" He squeezed her hand, desperate to pull her from the abyss Vyrath was dragging her into. Her eyes opened, but the golden blaze was gone, replaced by a deep black, like void swallowing light. "Carver!" she whispered, but it wasn't her voice. It was deeper, colder, Vyrath's echo. "I offer you everything, power, immortality, the ability to shape the galaxy as you wish. Just let me use the key." Ethan shook his head, heart pounding, but his will was iron. "I don't bargain with things I can't punch," he growled, eyes locked on her, or the entity within. "Give her back, you bastard, or I'll tear you apart myself." An explosion rocked the gray zone from outside, as if a cosmic beast had bitten into it. The screen blazed, showing the Black Dragon, Varn's massive ship, breaching Clythar 9's radiation field. Its plasma cannons fired searing bolts, narrowly missing the hull. Ethan dragged Lysara, still limp, to the co-pilot's seat, strapping her in, then dove into his own. His fingers flew over the controls, trying to restart the engines, but Vyrath wouldn't relent. Space around them collapsed, stars on the screen warping, bending like broken bones. "Gizmo, what's happening?" Ethan shouted, as the ship's clocks flickered chaotically, metal creaking like it was being crushed. A horrific pressure clawed at his mind, as if Vyrath was trying to invade, pulling him into its darkness. "Space is destabilizing," Gizmo replied, panic in its voice. "Something's opening, a portal. Survival odds uncalculable, 'cause I've never seen this crap before." Before them, a massive tear ripped through space, like the universe's fabric torn apart. Purple-black light poured out, swirling like a void storm, sucking everything in. Ethan slammed the controls, fighting to stabilize the gray zone, but the portal's pull was too strong. The ship shuddered, plunging into the darkness, and Vyrath's voice rang one last time, cold and menacing. You have chosen. Now pay the price. Ethan Carver woke on the gray zone's floor, his head pounding like it had been split by a sledgehammer, as if his mind had been dragged across the line between life and death. His breaths were heavy, lungs filled with the acrid stench of scorched metal from the flickering console. Through the observation screen, purple-black lights swirled, remnants of the portal that had swallowed them. He gritted his teeth, pushing himself up, body aching like it had been torn by Vyrath's invisible claws. Gizmo! He growled, voice raw. Are we alive, or is this hell? Gizmo's metallic voice answered, faint, as if stunned. Alive, boss, but I'm not sure that's good news. Systems are 43% fried. And I can't ID this damn place. Ethan glanced down, seeing Lysara unconscious beside him, her crimson hair splayed like dried blood, and Jackson, bound in the corner, groaning like a wounded beast. A cold pressure crept up his spine, like Vyrath's whisper lingering in his mind. As the gray zone emerged from the portal, Ethan felt reality crumble beneath him. The ship floated in an impossible dimension, where a lone planet drifted in the void, surrounded by stars spinning like giant fireflies, emitting eerie purple-black light. The planet's surface shimmered with countless crystal structures, each pulsing like a living creature's heartbeat, reflecting light into warped rainbows. Silence gripped the air, cold and absolute, no sound, no wind, just Ethan's pulse thumping like the only drum in the void. He stood before the observation screen, hands clenched on the chair, fighting the chill crawling from his spine to his brain. Lysara lay unconscious on the floor, her crimson hair spread like cooled lava. The patterns on her arm, living circuits, glowed fiercely, pulsing in sync with the planet's light, as if she belonged to this place. Jackson, bound by Gizmo's electric net, groaned in the corner, his scarred face twisted in pain and rage. Ethan knelt beside Lysara, checking her pulse, his hands trembling despite his effort to hide it. Gizmo! He called, voice rough but sharp. Scan the environment. Where the hell are we? Gizmo's voice crackled through the speaker, metallic and unusually rattled. Boss, I hate this place. No data on this planet in any database, or any I've hacked. External temp, absolute zero. Radiation unknown. Odds we're in another dimension, 97%. Survival odds, can't compute, 'cause I don't know what's going on. Ethan shook Lysara, his voice urgent but firm. Lysara, wake up! We need you now! He gripped her shoulders, feeling her body cold as ice, as if her life was being drained. Her arms' patterns blazed brighter, reacting to something outside, or within. Her eyes fluttered open, the usual golden fire now faint, like a dying flame. Carver! She whispered, voice fragile, echoing from afar. This is the forgotten dimension, where Vyrath was sealed. It pulled us in, to complete its rebirth. She tried to sit, but her body shook, hand clutching the necklace where the device glowed uneasily. Before Ethan could press her, the screen flared, revealing a figure, or something like one. A crystalline entity, towering, hovered outside the ship, its translucent body shimmering like forged starlight. Its face shifted endlessly, now human, now something alien to this universe. I am Vyrath. Its voice boomed through the ship, deep and ancient, like bells from the void. You bear the key. Choose, merge with me, become part of eternity, or be erased, dissolved into nothingness. Ethan stood, energy pistol tight in hand, eyes blazing despite his racing heart. I don't like your options, he growled, voice laced with defiance and sarcasm. Got a third door? Like me blasting you to bits and heading home for dinner? Vyrath laughed, a sound like shattering glass, sharp and cold. Humans, ever defiant, ever foolish. But you do not understand. The key is not only in her. The entity pointed at Lysara, then turned to Ethan, its crystalline form flashing like lightning. The key is also in you. Lysara stared at Ethan, her golden eyes wide with horror. Carver! She whispered, voice trembling. That explains why Black Star and the Coalition want you dead. You're the second key, part of the plan to seal Vyrath. Ethan shook his head, feeling the ground collapse beneath him. No, he roared, voice raw. I'm human, not anyone's tool. I'm not your damn toy. But deep inside, a hazy memory flickered, strange missions from his Coalition days, experiments he was ordered to forget. He shoved it aside, gripping his pistol, refusing to let Vyrath break him. The screen shook, red light flooding as the Black Dragon, Varn's colossal ship, appeared in the planet's sky. Its energy cannons fired, shattering crystal structures on the surface, sparking explosions like deadly fireworks. Varn's voice crackled through the comms, cold and menacing. Carver, surrender both keys, you and her, or I'll level this planet and everything on it. Ethan turned to Lysara, his eyes alight with a reckless, insane plan, the kind he was born for. You trust me? He asked, voice low but sharp, like a blade cutting through doubt. Lysara met his gaze, still wary, but nodded, hand tightening on her necklace. I've got no choice, Carver. Good, Ethan said, a half-cocked, half-determined grin breaking through. He dove into the pilot's seat, fingers flying over the controls. Gizmo, rig the auxiliary reactor to blow. We're giving Vyrath and Varn a surprise, a galactic legend kind of surprise. Ethan Carver knew his plan was insane, but insanity was what he'd mastered in a lifetime of defying the odds. Strapped into the Gray Zone's pilot seat, his fingers danced across the console, activating the auxiliary reactor, a creaking relic capable of unleashing an energy blast that could shatter the shimmering crystal structures, Vyrath's source of power. But to pull it off, they had to dive into the planet's heart, where the ancient entity was trying to merge with Lysara's mind, turning her into its vessel for rebirth. Every second, the Gray Zone shuddered violently, a wounded beast charging into the forgotten dimension's darkness. Carver, you're out of your mind! Lysara shouted, standing beside him, gripping her energy sword, its blade humming like it was ready to cleave the universe. Her crimson hair clung to her sweat-soaked face, but her golden eyes burned with defiance, tinged with doubt. If we do this, there's no escape. The blast will swallow this planet. I'm not big on sad endings. Ethan shot back, flashing a reckless grin that masked his hammering heart. He slammed the controls, sending the Gray Zone crashing through towering crystal structures, each one exploding under the ship's firepower, scattering bursts of light like deadly fireworks. Gizmo, unleash every weapon we've got. Let's make this exit legendary. Roger that, boss. Gizmo chirped through the speaker, its metallic voice buzzing with excitement. But fair warning, auxiliary reactors at 92% capacity. Survival odds post-explosion, under 10%. I'd suggest, well, you never listen anyway. The Gray Zone's energy cannons roared, firing red-hot beams that tore through the crystal barriers, leaving trails of glittering debris floating in the void. But they weren't alone. The Black Dragon, Colonel Varn's colossal ship, pursued like a specter of death. Its lasers ripped through space, one grazing the Gray Zone, making it lurch, red alerts flashing across the screens. In desperation, Ethan had freed Jackson from Gizmo's net, forcing him to cooperate. Now Jackson manned the turret, fingers flying over the controls with chilling precision, returning fire with blazing plasma volleys at the Black Dragon. I still hate you, Carver, Jackson growled through the comms, his scarred face twisted with rage. But if I'm dying, I'm taking Varn and his damn ship with me. That's the spirit. Ethan barked, his laugh harsh despite the pressure of Vyrath invading his mind, a cold blade slicing through memories. Visions of lost loved ones flashed, vivid and gut-wrenching, his family, slaughtered in a coalition raid he couldn't stop, his old crew, betrayed by Jackson in the Red Nebula job. Voices whispered, sweet but venomous, trying to sway him. You can save them. Vyrath purred in his head. Merge with me, and they'll live again. Lysara, battling Vyrath's grip on her own mind, grabbed Ethan's hand, her fingers digging in like a lifeline against the abyss. Carver, she whispered, voice trembling, golden eyes shimmering with pain. I see your past, your family, what you lost. I'm sorry. Don't apologize, Ethan said, voice rough but steely. Live to tell this story, Lysara. That's how we get even. He squeezed her hand once, then turned back to the controls, pushing the gray zone deeper into the planet's core, where the crystal light grew blinding, a dying star's furnace. The ship quaked as they reached the center. Before them loomed a massive crystal structure, pulsing like Vyrath's heart, each beat a silent threat. Vyrath spoke, its voice thundering in their minds, cold and seductive. Merge with me, Ethan Carver, it said. I will resurrect those you love. Your family, your crew, they will return. Just let me live. Ethan froze, just for a second, his finger hovering over the reactor's trigger. Images of his family flickered, his mother's smile, his sister's laugh, but he clenched his jaw, shoving the memories away. You don't know humans, he roared. We don't trade on empty promises. He reached for the button, but Lysara moved first. She tore the cylindrical device from her necklace, its light blazing so fiercely it dimmed the crystal heart. With a scream, she charged, plunging the device into the structure's core, her energy sword in her other hand blazing like a torch. This is my choice, she cried, her voice drowning out Vyrath's mental roar. The device shattered, unleashing a white-hot surge of energy that engulfed the crystal, Vyrath, and the gray zone. A blast of light erupted, like a newborn star igniting in the void, tearing through the forgotten dimension and everything within it. As the explosion's light faded, Ethan Carver felt himself adrift in darkness, as if his soul had been ripped from his body and cast into the void. His head buzzed, each heartbeat a hammer striking his chest, and a strange energy, icy yet burning, surged through his spine, like Vyrath's whisper clinging to him. He opened his eyes, breaths heavy, finding himself sprawled on the gray zone's floor, surrounded by the acrid stench of scorched metal and the console's flickering ruins. Through the observation screen, space debris floated, jagged shards of Clythar 9 like broken mirrors reflecting the Shattered Nebula's distant light. They were back, but the cost chilled him to the bone. Gizmo, he called, voice raw, as if he'd screamed through death itself. What the hell just happened? Gizmo's metallic voice answered, faint but laced with its usual sarcasm. Boss, I don't know how we're alive, but systems are 67% shot, and something's in you. Not a glitch, I swear. Ethan looked down, heart skipping as faint patterns glowed on his skin, pulsing like the circuits of an ancient nightmare. When Ethan opened his eyes again, the gray zone's dim console lights flickered across his face, like frail stars in the Shattered Nebula. His head throbbed, as if a freighter had slammed into him, and his body felt heavy, carrying the weight of the planet they'd just obliterated. He lay in the cockpit, breath slow, each inhale laced with the smell of burnt metal and grease from the aging ship. Through the screen, he saw Clythar 9's remnants drifting, shattered glass reflecting far-off light. They'd returned to familiar space, but the price tightened his chest. He turned, seeing Lysara in the co-pilot's seat, back rigid, her golden eyes now empty, a frozen lake. She stared at him, no spark of recognition, no trace of the woman who'd fought beside him, who'd gripped his hand in Vyrath's nightmare. Who are you? She asked, voice cold, sharp as the energy sword she once wielded. And why am I here? Ethan felt a blade twist in his chest. He pushed himself up, body protesting with aches, and stepped closer, searching her eyes for a flicker of memory. Lysara, he said, voice hoarse. It's me, Ethan. We just saved the galaxy. You don't remember? Vyrath, the forgotten dimension, the explosion? She frowned, hand brushing the now empty necklace where the device once hung. The patterns on her arm, once living circuits, had faded, like a fire snuffed out. I remember nothing, she said, voice steady but heavy with an unseen loss. But I feel like I've lost part of myself. Are you telling the truth, Ethan Carver? Ethan gripped the chair, swallowing rage and grief. He wanted to scream, to smash something, but he just stood there, staring at the stranger with a familiar face. In the corner, Jackson lay unconscious, Gizmo's electric net still binding him, his scarred face twisted in restless sleep. Ethan glanced at him, Betrayal still smoldering, but now wasn't the time. Gizmo spoke, its metallic voice tinged with concern. Boss, I scanned the systems, and her Lysara's memories are wiped, likely from the energy surge in the Forgotten Dimension. But there's something weirder. Your body's emitting energy like Vyrath's. Faint but real. You absorbed part of it. Ethan looked at his hand, heart stopping as patterns like Lysara's glowed faintly on his skin, pulsing like a machine from a forgotten era. He clenched his fist, feeling something alien burning inside. So that's it. He muttered, voice bitter. I saved the galaxy, lost her, and now I'm what? A monster carrying Vyrath's seed? No. Colonel Varn's voice cut through the comms, cold but laced with fear, like a man who'd seen a ghost in the mirror. Carver, you don't get it. Vyrath isn't dead, it's in you. The Coalition will hunt you to the galaxy's edge, tear you apart to get it. Ethan laughed, a harsh sound like metal grinding. He stepped to the console, fingers brushing the controls, checking the gray zone status. Let him try, he said, voice low but sharp as a blade. Gizmo, fire up the engines. We've got a whole galaxy to outrun, and I'm not an easy target. On it, boss. Gizmo replied, a spark of excitement in its tone. But heads up, Vyrath's energy and you could cause glitches. Odds of being tracked, 88%. I suggest finding somewhere real far, real dark to hide. The gray zone rumbled as its engines roared, plunging into the Shattered Nebula's darkness, leaving Clythar 9's ruins behind. Ethan settled into the pilot's seat, his gaze drifting to Lysara, now a stranger with a face he knew. She stared out at the endless void, as if searching for a lost fragment of herself. Ethan clenched his hand, the patterns flaring once, a reminder that Vyrath lived, and maybe, just maybe, held the key to bringing Lysara back. Deep in his mind an image flashed, not his own but Vyrath's. Another galaxy distant, where Vyrath was a hero, not a monster, forging stars instead of shattering them. The vision faded fast, but left a haunting question. If Vyrath wasn't wholly the enemy, then who was he, the man carrying its spark? Ethan shook it off, but a flicker of hope kindled in his chest. If Vyrath lived in him, he might find a way to restore Lysara's memories. And when he did, he'd face the Coalition, Black Star, and even himself. As the gray zone prepared for a hyperspace jump, Ethan glanced at Lysara one last time. You'll remember, he whispered, unsure if he was speaking to her or himself. And when you do, this galaxy's gonna pay. The ship leaped into the dark, carrying a man, a mystery, and an ancient entity, bound together in a war far from over.